Welcome back. I'm the Watch Nerd. On this video, we're going to go into the most underrated collection in Rolex. Now, there are collections that don't get a lot of attention, like the Rolex, let's say the Rolex Prince, they don't get a lot, and the Oyster Perpetuals, the vintage ones, not as much either. But with the spec sheet, with the millimeters and the uniqueness of the quartz collection, there is nothing to go along to compare with the rarity, the exclusivity of this line, and the amount of engineering Rolex had to do. So I'm going to cover all that, and I will flip you into it. I'll talk about not just what's in front of me, because I have done a video of what's in front of me, but I will talk about the entire quartz collection in general. I'll talk about things that are throughout the collection and specific details on certain watches, because I think it's very important. But before I do that, I do want to keep announcing my Chanel chain giveaway. I'm going to be giving out this chain as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to be entered, there's the 4 steps in the description below.
So I first want to go on a little bit of a history lesson with you. If you do want to skip this part, you can get straight to why I think this is one of the most important and overlooked section in the Rolex catalog. But first, let's talk about the history of these timepieces. So it started all the way back in 1969 when quartz first came into real production with the Seiko. And when Seiko released their model, it drove the entire Swiss industry almost to bankruptcy. And that's why we see all the big collabs with all the companies. They are collabs. You know, there's Swatch Group, there's Richemont Group, with Breguet, all these companies working together. And that's why we see the big conglomerates. There are a few exceptions like Rolex, and we'll talk about that in a future video. But all of them partnered up. Rolex actually partnered up with JLC, with Patek Philippe, I believe. Yeah, they were involved, and they released a quartz movement. I'll pop up a picture here, the Beta 21. And this was all part of the whole group, and they came up with this. There's this was in the Texan, and Rolex called it the 5100. I'll pull up, it's the same thing, but I'll put it right here too. So you'll notice the case is slightly different than the Oysterquartz, and it's called the Texan. Very cool piece, a very interesting piece, but that was sort of a limited edition, which is sort of strange. There's a lot more stuff about that. But let's head into straight the Oysterquartz. So the movement came out in 1970, the 5100. 74 is when Rolex wasn't happy enough. They weren't happy enough pretty much right away, because knowing Rolex, they want to be different. They do not want to follow trends, even though they were actually slow in this category. They don't follow trends, and this is the one time they really did. They had to. That's what they felt they had to. Of course, the other watches are still selling at this time. They just thought eventually they would phase all their other watches out and just make quartz watches. Now, I could continue on and talk about the JLC family and how they actually helped develop this new movement, because a member of the JLC family actually did. But more importantly, you need to understand that there was two movements made. It was the 5035 and the 5055, and these are the two major components in the movements. The only difference is the 55, meaning it has double quickset day date, and the date just is the 35, which are really incredible movements, and they did not change them once. So you have to realize during 1977 or 78 was when these movements fully went out. And when they did, they didn't change them until they discontinued, because they actually never changed them. So all the way up to 2001, that's when they stopped making quartz movements. But I believe, and most people can agree, by 2001, there is not a lot of watches being made. And if they are, they're pretty much factory date just. I've seen a few, but I have not seen like the 17,000 blue dial. You don't see those made in the 2000s. And especially the day date I just put on, because this is just incredible. 1986 pyramid bracelet, pyramid bezel, and factory diamonds all the way around. That I believe could be an auction piece. I really do think that is truly special. And all these pieces are truly special. We have to realize let's say the original one, the 1970s, early 1970s, coming out Rolex, coming out with a date just with a sapphire crystal. Just the movement finishing, of course, is unbelievable. Especially the in-house versions. I always recommend people getting the in-house. I get it. The other one is cool because all the developing, all of them developed it, like JLC and Patek Philippe, and it's cool, right? I'm not gonna disagree with you, but um, I think the in-house is better, but that's not even we're not even covering the subject at hand because there's so much to talk about here. But the investment opportunity, right? So you can buy this day date probably 10 years ago for around 10,000 because it is factory diamond. It is that, bracelet. Now it's going for around, I say about 25,000. I think that's a fair price. Look at this. This is actually the loom. This is not reloomed. This is not a service style. This is tritium. I don't know. The certain patinas don't patina as fast, and this is one that didn't. So the loom actually still works on the day date. Very, very cool. Just showing you that off. Very cool. But yeah, as I'm saying that these went up. I think this watch can be a 50 grand watch. I'm not joking when I say that because look at it. It has everything that is collectible about watches. And let's even head further into it and talk about the crown collection. So this is where it really starts. I'm starting off with the diamond bezel baguette. This is a real Rolex. I just have to say these are all a factory. I don't consider aftermarket a part of horology. But look at this. Look at the way Rolex does this. Have you seen Rolex ever, like in the history of all Rolexes, do something this crazy in their day date line? Except for the originals. I'm talking, this is way after the originals. Um, no, I don't think of anything. And this is just getting started. I have some really interesting ones. Look at this. Sapphires in the bracelet. This is probably the only rainbows don't even look this crazy, and we're about to get to that because it's really, really insane. But just look at this. Look at the collectability possibility, I should say, with these pieces. The diamonds, they're in the bracelet, and it's unbelievable how Rolex made watches like this. To me, it's just amazing. I'm getting a lot of these from Philips. They do sell and they sell for very high amounts of money. But if you can pick one up, if you can find them somewhere, they're very rare. I do have to mention they are in-house and everything. Look at this one. Ruby bracelet. Sorry, it's a little fuzzy. This is one of the only ones I could find, but this is a factory. This is real. So the rubies on the bracelet and rubies on the bezel. All these is just incredible. Different faces. I do prefer the face that has the baguette at 6 and at 9. I just like that one better. That's personally mine. On the other one, the 19038, there's two different dials too. But that's just something I prefer. And we're about to get to see something that is just absolutely insane, off the walls, bonkers, like really bonkers, these pieces. And people don't realize this is out there. But for the regular collector out there, for the more entry level geared, there it is. This is what we're going to talk about in just a minute. But finishing up my last thought, the more entry level collectors have a big opportunity to get into this oyster quartz world before it gets too expensive. So what do I recommend? Do I recommend you go and rush and you pay a decent amount for these watches? No. I say take your time, do your research. Right now, it's not going up every night $1,000 every month, but definitely take your time, do your research, and understand and educate yourself on what you're buying, because I think that's extremely important. If you want to buy which one, there are different models. Even the models, this is what I personally recommend too, even the ones that are not quartz, the pre-oyster quartz, but in still the same cases. So there is models like this, and I will talk deeply more about it. But it is not a quartz module. It is an automatic movement inside, and it's just kind of incredible. So it's a regular oyster perpetual date just, but in the oyster case. Um, and it's just really, really cool. But let's talk about what we have in front of us. This is a factory pyramid bracelet, which I have in front of you. So that it's still very rare, but not that crazy. The bezel is factory sapphires. We're talking very high quality, and then we're talking all the indices are sapphire too. This is not even in our rainbows. The rainbow has the bezel. I don't think they don't carry into the indices. I'm 99% sure because yeah, some of them are factory diamond dials, but they don't carry the sapphires into the indices. And I get it. Some people call it the old man watch, right? And I don't think that is the case. Look, it is 36 millimeters. We all know that. But if anybody out there can agree with me too that the regular 36 millimeters does wear slightly bigger than a average 36 millimeter case. I'm talking the regular oyster case. But in the oyster quartz form, this wears like a 38 millimeters, 37, 38 millimeters. And it is chunky, especially in gold. They flatten the presidential bracelet where it won't stretch as much. I noticed, and just looking at it, it is such an incredible piece. When I first saw this, honestly, I thought it was either aftermarket, or somebody just digitally made it. But no, I did my research. This was right when I first got into collecting, and of course now I'm very much into the oyster quartz horology because I think it is horology. I think it's very, very important that people understand. And this is the most accurate movement Rolex ever made, and they discontinued it. And people don't care because it ticks. Seriously, this is something that most collectors should consider. But that's where I'm going to leave it here. I would love to know your opinions. What is your opinion on these crown collection of the day dates, the highest echelon of the oyster quartz? And what do you think about a entry level? I didn't talk about that too much today, the entry level, but I have talked about it previously. I would love to know all your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. This is my reasoning why the Oyster Quartz is the best value prop, and I think it will definitely go up as an investment. But don't wear it as an investment, wear it because you love it, and I think that's true too. So if you do want the 4 steps for the Chanel chain giveaway, there is the steps in the description below, and if you follow those 4, I'll automatically put you in. That is all I have today for you. I would love to know all your opinions down in the comments, and I will definitely catch you in the next one. Have a fantastic day.